Women of Reddit, what flirting signals do men miss or not pick up on? I'm all of them short of directly asking them out. Some that my exes told me afterwards. If she mentions at any time that she's free or is going to be bored, she wants to spend time with you. It's obvious in hindsight, but I was a dumbass. Used to tell her friends to walk ahead, go without her. Playful hitting. I miss this fairly obvious one too. See above. Dumbass. Starts talking about how at most guys are being single is annoying. She suddenly had my exact music taste. She is telling me my hour is up and it's $100 for another. As a man, I couldn't be able to tell if a woman is interested in me even if she told me. I would just think she's messing with me. The problem with questions like these is that the answer is almost entirely dependent on context. Eye contact, smiling, laughing at jokes, etc. are very ambiguous and can be interpreted many ways. Most guys are going to default to the safe position. That is, not flirting. Because it can be very messy for a guy to assume flirtation when there is none and then act on that assumption. In my experience, all of them except for the things that are definitely not signals. I'm looking at you. Deli man who assumed my purchasing a half pound of provolone cheese was a come on. Some of us are dense as can be. Once had a woman over and she asked if I'd go lock the door. I thought she was being weird until I turned around and her clothes were off. Then I got it. I now look for signals. I was really bad on picking up signals. Some years ago I worked in a large office and the pretty receptionist used to wave at me every time I came in. I used to grab a bite, usually alone, at lunch in the canteen, and she asked if she could join me. This became regular for a couple of weeks and we chat about non-consequential stuff. Sometimes she appeared to try and steer the conversation toward sexual stuff. But, back then, I was uncomfortable and didn't follow up. She would flick and twist her hair, smile and tilt her head when I talked. After a while, when I walked past reception and she started blowing kisses to me. So I thought, okay, those must be signals, right? So I got up the courage to ask her out. She reported me to HR for sexual harassment. It's weird but might just be me. BT when I take a guy's shirt sleeve in my hand and rub it as if trying to check out the material. It's my sad attempt at flirting. Not really their fault if they don't pick up. I once had a girl outright grab my D and start rubbing and I ducking asked, are you sure? Men are not smart creatures. When my husband and I discussed past relationships, he told me how he had a ton of girls who would hang out with him all the time and flirt with him but never ask him out, so he figured they weren't really interested in him. I laughed so hard, then explained that they were waiting for him to ask him out. He thought about it a bit, then agreed that maybe that was possible, but how would he know they were interested? After facepumming like 5 times, I explained the hanging out accompanied by flirting was their showing interest. When you comment on his manly elbows and how they would be perfect for striking the side of a neck in self-defense. Straight up, my husband is an amazing man and I love him, but he was incredibly thick in the head while I was trying to date him. In high school I flirted non-stop with him, rubbed my hand up and down his leg, complained about being single, hugged him constantly, accidentally bumped into him, went out on outings with him. Hell, I once changed clothes in front of him, all throughout high school. Nothing. I think that's the end of it and move on with my life. Staying friend WTH but still very disappointed. Dating other guys in college. All boring. When I meet him there, apparently he transferred. I nearly yelled enjoy at the coincidence. I decide that I'm not letting the opportunity slip by. After catching up with him and stuff, I straight up kissed him. Told him that I had a crush on him and he just sits there shocked. Apparently he had a crush on me since high school. He just didn't think I was interested. Ducking facepalmed so hard. So yeah, my advice to the guys on Reddit: if a girl constantly wants to spend time with you, cuddles with you, hugs you, complains about how single she is, and changes in front of you, odds are you have a good shot at dating her, unless she's a lesbian. If what I've gathered from this thread and similar threads is true, then men never pick up on signals. If that is true, then why do women do the exact same things that do not work? You'd think at a point things would change to be more effective. Writing for my sister, and she says men don't pick up on eye contact and them being nice. I'm just gonna speak from experience of being a guy. If she comes over after dark for any reason not specifically platonic, like picking stuff up, then she's more than likely down. Women complain about this kind of stuff all the time. Almost as much as we hear about women complaining about guys thinking women like them when they don't. But we're constantly told as men to respect the friendship and don't jump at every little thing. But at the same time women flirt as subtlety as possible. Can't have it both ways and expect results. I'm in an arbitrary place as I am male but unattractive and never been flirted with. Whoa, your hands are so much bigger than mine. I'm just going to say right now that my self-esteem is so low that unless someone directly asks me out I'm probably not going to pick up on any signals. Look, there's been so many times where I've mistakenly thought somebody liked me or was flirting with me. It's ducking embarrassing. There's bound to have been a few times where somebody was actually flirting with me and, despite maybe noticing, I don't respond in fear of embarrassing myself. I hate coming off as a creep at least as much as you hate not being noticed. Over the weekend a girl I was chatting to was getting me to feel her skirt material, asked me to dance, and said I'm gonna go home now. I responded okay, good night. It wasn't until today that I thought, wait a minute. The only flirting signals a guy misses and doesn't pick up are all of them. If a woman compliments you on your appearance, I'd say that's obvious flirting. But compliments on something you can control, such as how good you are at something. It may not be super direct like wow you're great at such and such, but anything that implies you're really good at something. Guitar etc. Some guys miss that I think. This made me wanna hug my brother. I walked into her place and she just blurted out I'd suck your D. I laughed it off as a joke. A friend of mine once told me, you know that girl is staring at you right? I thought she was but I wasn't sure. It's either that or she's staring at me and she has one hell of a squint. All this thread tells me is that women should lower their expectations of the perceptiveness of men, and that men should be more selective of what female behavior they read into. If I talk about the clothes that I'm wearing, I was talking to a guy I was interested in at work and it was really hot outside. He told me I was only hot because I was wearing layers. I opened my shirt and revealed my tank top and said, oh, it's just a tank top under this. Doing that is kind of like giving him an invitation to look. When you save them from drowning even though they are not actually drowning, but some kid is only a few feet away and you're on lifeguard duty. Very dense man here. Made friends with the new girl in town that moved into the apartment next door. One day she calls for me to come over and help her out. Thinking she needed help moving furniture or something, I obliged. Instead she needed assistance picking out what bikini to wear that weekend. I was asked to sit on the couch for 15 minutes as she modeled various bikini top bottom combinations for me. So there I am trying to give this girl my honest opinion while trying to hold back an erection. She didn't undress directly in front of me. There was a wall she used, but in hindsight it was clear as day that she wanted the D. While I was just trying to be nice and help my neighbor. I'll add that she had a breast August and that her act was impressive. To this day we remain friends, but are simply neighbors. I recently had my cousin's daughter randomly come kiss me on the cheek. Twice in a day. She's never met me before. Is this a signal? I'm 33 years old. She is 11. To cut a long story short, before my wife and I were dating at all she would send me XX on the end of every single text message. I asked her best friend whether it meant she was interested in me, to which I was explained no, she does that to all of her friends. Turns out they both were crushing on me and hadn't discussed it yet, and I then made the best friend jealous. It was a confusing time after that, to say the least. As a man I think I can answer this, at least for myself, every single one of them. The few occasions where I ended up in a relationship all started with a very surprise me. A few weeks ago, I did my makeup ultra carefully, took all of the suggestions I asked my husband for, that lipstick with this eyeshadow, if you say so, did my hair just the way he likes, put on some enticing lingerie, made some drinks, lounged in front of him, and sat drinking as my hair lost its hold and I got increasingly bored for 7 hours while he played games with his friends online. So, that As a guy, I'll just say all of them short of stripping and professing attraction. Anything subtler than that and we'll either ignore it or write it off as just our imagination. Story time. I have posted this before. Hail here. I have a friend that goes to a private school. The school is a good 20 minutes away by car, assuming light traffic. Mind you, he has to pass through a major city, so he just takes the bus to save his parents a 40 minutes round trip. His boss normally lets him and this other girl out at our local library. Now, this school gives IDs to their students. As is usual, my friend happened to have a school photo on his ID that I found amusing. So, my friend and I happened to be hanging around one day, along with the other girl. We are chatting, and the topic of our conversation drifts to the ID photo. The girl, a solid 7, I might add, also finds the picture amusing, and so she snaps a picture of it. She offers to send said picture to me, and asks for my phone number. I politely decline, and take the photo myself. Yo, I still cringe about it to this day. TLDR. Girl asks me for my phone number indirectly. I unknowingly decline. Okay, so I am actually an idiot for not realizing this. But me and girl who I had been friends with for about 5 years were chatting it up on the bus when all of a sudden she sticks the gum she was chewing out of her lips and dared me to take it with my mouth. Being the idiot I am, I thought it was gross and got off the bus about 2 minutes later. One time in my later high school years I was trying to get with this one girl. From my point of view she never seemed interested. One day out of nowhere I get a call from her that she's coming over with 2 of her friends. So I had 3 girls sitting in my room talking about fun and special things to do. The best thing I came up with was Monopoly. I worked at a local bank in college and had to do 2 weeks of training where it was just me and another girl. We used to go outside and take smoke breaks and got pretty close over the next week or so. At one point, our trainer is giving us a presentation and the girl starts playing footsie with me. At first I was thinking she didn't know it was my leg, but it went on for like 5 minutes where she is aggressively moving her leg up and down my leg. I'm not sure what I was supposed to do at that point since she was never making eye contact with me. Eventually she stops, waits a few minutes, bumps my leg, and says sorry. I sat there and thought maybe she was just rubbing the leg of the table. Never brought it up and never made a move, even though I had a huge crush on her. According to my fiance, all of them. Cuddling because I'm cold. Also cooking him dinner. To be fair, I'm awful at flirting. On my first date with my we went to see an outdoor play and while we sat in the grass I kept sliding my hand over his and he'd stiffen up and move it away. His thought process, oh my god, I'm accidentally touching her, I don't want to be disrespectful. I wanna hold her hand but I won't push her. Later on, he invited me over for drinks and Stranger Things marathoning. He asked me to spend the night and was surprised when I kissed him while we were cuddling in our underwear in bed. He was just worried about me driving home drunk. I'm gonna flip the script on this one. I was interested in this girl at work, but wasn't sure if she felt the same. We were hanging out a lot in group settings, and inevitably it ended up just me and her at the end of the night, sharing very personal conversations and long hugs goodnight. After about 6 months of this, I was convinced she must be interested and made my move. She was totally blindsided and made it clear she was not at all interested in pursuing a relationship with me. Ouch. We tried to stay friends afterwards, but it's proven to be a bridge too far. So, you never know. I spent years talking to a girl down the street. Pretty much grew up together and hung out like every day. Always thought she'd never like me cause she was out of my league even though she'd say she loved me and get changed in front of me. I knew she liked me eventually but I could never make a move. 6 years. Now she's gone and I miss her. Complimenting something you're wearing, physical feature. If I tell you that your shirt fits you well or telling you I like your watch as I take your hand to look at it closer. That's flirting. Constant eye contact too. If I didn't think you were attractive I wouldn't be holding eye contact. Just be direct. This goes for both genders. Man here, we miss all of them. There was one time, my boyfriend and I had been dating for months, and we were laying in bed about to go to sleep. I wasn't very tired so I started kissing his neck and grinding against him all sexy like. He told me later that he thought I was just being cuddly, and it wasn't until I climbed on top of him that he thought I'm being seduced. I just want to let it be known for women out there, as guys are clueless about your signals. For example, there was one girl a while back who I had literally been told 3 times by her that she liked me when she was drunk, and I still wasn't sure if she did. Still am not sure either. You guys need to be explicit and sober with this stuff with us, or it just shoots straight over our heads, haha. I'm dating a girl who works in healthcare. She's always touching the veins on my arms. I do not understand if this is a signal. Help. Leaving the door wide open. Ducking, literally leaving the door wide open and backing up into the apartment. I had a small crush on this guy a couple of years ago. I would flirt pretty openly with him. After a couple weeks I asked, would you go on a date with me if I asked? And he said, oh yeah. Totally. I still had to ask. I thought that was funny. Before we started dating, my ex told me outright that she had a crush on me. I still didn't take the hint. So I just told her that's okay. Anything can be a signal. Unless you're unattractive. Then none of them are. For they're alone. You women are all playing yourselves. We're dense. We're not wired to pick up on these things. But the kicker is how stupidly easy it is to successfully make your intentions known as Al without being overtly forward, or cheesy, or risking embarrassment. You reach over, and you softly put your hand our thigh. Leave it there for longer than just a touch. No need to rub, or move. That's it. There's no step 2. We get it now. If we're into you, we'll respond. Likely by putting our hand on yours. If not, you can safely remove your hand and continue as if nothing happened if you're friends, or terminate contact if you're fishing. Yes, we're that simple. Universal sign. Playfully hitting you. Unless you see her playfully hitting everyone. But it's most likely her just flirting. This applies with every form of physical contact, but especially with those playful hits on your shoulder. How I became a successful male model after always thinking I was quite awkward looking and no one was interested. I thought my luck with the ladies would change, but nope, I'm as oblivious and single as ever. The times I do end up getting laid or meeting someone, I bumble through the entire thing until I finally see the green light, and then bam. Pre-ejaculation. I took off my pants during a date. He fell asleep. I know this is certainly not the case for all women, but if I inquire about your love life, I'm trying to show I hope you're single. Many years ago, a cute drunk girl told drunk me, if you need a place to stay for tonight you can come to my place. I said, no, don't worry, thanks. I then slept on the floor in the dorm room of a dude. To this day I haven't forgiven myself. My wife and I began playing games together online right after we met. Every time, she'd suggest we name our characters after historical romantic couples. In one game we were literally named Romeo and Juliet. I did not notice. She began complaining about being single. I told her she shouldn't be single. That she was awesome. She would invite me to listen to her play the piano and ocarina. She'd show me her new outfits, shoes. I still didn't get the hint and wondered if she thought of me as her token gay guy friend, since I am definitely not gay. Finally she basically asked me out. Serum, you need to ask me something, right? I do? You do. Do it. I still don't get hints. She walked into my office a few nights ago wearing her lingerie and gives me a deep, passionate kiss. I said goodnight. She came in 5 minutes later wearing nothing and yanked my head back to give me another kiss, and I took the hint. I don't think I was necessarily dense about not picking up a girl's signals, just way overly cautious. Misinterpreting a person's attraction towards you is, in my opinion, the worst form of embarrassment. I still remember 10th grade when I was so sure Alyssa was into me. She was not. Ducking Alyssa.